It's a great day for our program. Always love signing date, and it's a first time. Although our players, this class has been committed for about a year and a half. It's actually the first time that we can actually talk about them and be able to publicize their commitment. We've got four fantastic players, fantastic humans that will be joining our program, great competitors that all have very high ceilings, I believe. It's a, Brittany Dildine is our recruiting coordinator, and she did an absolute fantastic job of with this class, and the rest of the coaches on our staff. A lot of time, a lot of hours, a lot of being on the road, and we're really excited. We've got Audrey Flanagan is an outside hitter from California, and Hallie Thompson is an outside hitter from Texas. I think those are two of the top outsides in this class. Dynamic 6 rotation players. And we've got two middles, Lenny Tarnow from Illinois, and Kimora Scott, also from Illinois, two middle blockers that will those futures are sky high. So really excited about this class that's coming in. Obviously, we've got two road matches in front of us on back-to-back days. It's the only time all year that we will be playing back-to-back matches. And both those are on the road, 2 different time zones. So it's a little bit kind of like the NCAA tournament, except, hopefully we'll be home there. But there's not a lot of times anymore that we're playing on back-to-back days. And so there's certainly a challenge doing that against 2 teams that are having really nice years, and 2 teams that have NCAA tournament aspirations. And we're certainly looking forward to the opportunities in front of us.
You kind of run through this your first chance to talk about these kids, each of them, and what jumps out at you about them?
Yeah. Kimora, the first time I saw her, I think was in the Indianapolis Convention Center. I think I was on court probably 96, and I get a text from, you're laughing, but there's these tournaments that have, some of these have not only 100 courts, 150, 175 courts. It's crazy what this has turned into. But I know I was on one end of the convention center, and I get a text from Gary, I need you on court 1. And I wrote back to him, I said, are you effing with me right now? And that was a 25-minute walk through the crowds to get over there. He says, I really need you over here, and got over there and was standing up and watched a little bit of Kimora, and about 2 minutes in, we both sat down and we stayed for a while, and you could, her athleticism, her ability to hit off of 1 foot really jumped out. You could see, wow, there's an effortless ability to attack off 1 foot. She reminded me of a former player I had at Dayton named Megan Campbell, with her ability to hit off of 1 foot, or Devin Robinson's ability to hit off of 1 foot at a similar age kind of reminded me of that. She's been coached well, and is just a great kid. I think she was off the radar nationally, which is totally fine. We don't lean too much on the rankings when we're recruiting people, but typically when we're offering somebody scholarships, usually it's not somebody that most people don't know about, and that was kind of the case here. And so, versus Lenny. Lenny's been coming to camp here since I think she was 9, and so we've known Lenny and for a long time. She sent me a picture a few weeks ago of her when she was probably about 9 and coming to our little Badgers camp, and I think she was eating a popsicle or something during one of the breaks. With those groups, we give them popsicles during the breaks. We're not doing that to our high school kids. But so she's been around for a long time. I think most people in the country know who she is. Very physical attacker. Played for an elite club. Played for national championships and. Has been in the USA pipeline for a while. He's got the ability to hit off of 1 or 2 feet. Can be a very physical blocker. Similar to kind of a Haley Nelson, but probably has a lot. Not probably. She has a lot more experience coming in than what Haley had at the same age. But there's certainly some similarities. I would say Lenny's a better athlete at this age and we all know what type of impact Haley had at her career. The personalities, kind of some similarities. Just a really, really good young lady. Hallie Thompson, it's not a lot of times that we're getting kids from Texas coming out of high school. And Hallie's certainly one of the most dynamic attackers in the country, come out of Houston, and she's won a couple state championships and played on one of the top club teams in the country. Has started for the USA, I think the U19 team, maybe it was U17 team, I'm not sure exactly which one, but she was one of the starting outsides and can pass, is fearless, great serve. I don't say that too many times about a high school kid, but she's got a really, really nice serve. Defense, just a flyer. She'll be able to. She will tattoo balls from the back row. An elite back row attacker for her age. Then Audrey Flanagan. I think she was the other starting outside for that USA team along with Hallie, and a couple years ago she was MVP of, I don't know what tournament it was, maybe the Junior World Championships or something, but tall, 6 rotation player, can get into angles that very few people can get to with her age. Serves, passes well. I think she can be an elite blocker as well. One of the her contact point is just different than most people. Her ability to hit high and to get into angles, just a very, very smooth athlete. 3 of them, the first 3 I talked about, will all be here in January and graduating high school early. Audrey will be here after her club season is over in May.
You were mentioning not getting a lot of people out of Texas. Kind of walk me through how you were able to get, Hallie here when obviously there are, quite a few other top tier programs between here and there on the map.
Yeah. Hallie kind of took us a little bit by surprise with her interest. When we were talking to her club coaches, they said, we're pretty sure you're in the ball game there. And, but you hear that quite a bit. It's almost the Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last, right? I mean, who cares if you're runner up in the recruiting business? That's a hollow victory. And so, can you get somebody across the finish line? And with Audrey, we haven't gotten a lot of SoCal kids, but there was that connection with Audrey going to the same high school as Charlie Furbringer. So Charlie's only 2 years older, and so those two have known each other. So there was that connection there. There wasn't much of one with Houston for Hallie, and but it was an elite team. Club team, a lot of players on that team that are going high level Division I. So there's always a lot of coaches around that court. We were certainly around that court a lot. I think that first conversation or two, I think there was just a good, I don't know. Sometimes when you're on the phone with people, it goes really, really well, and you can just know that there's kind of, you're talking the same language. And others, it's almost like you're talking with somebody that's, you're pretty sure the words were English, but they're not understanding me and I'm not understanding them. Hallie, we were speaking the same language right from the get-go, and so that was a fun one. Yeah, Audrey, I remember being over at. We were trying to get her across the finish line. I think the last school was a school kind of in her vicinity, and I think I was at Luke Fickle's house at the time. It was Luke and myself and Mike Hastings and Greg Gard. The four of us were over there outside and I said, I'm expecting a phone call now. And I said, if I get a FaceTime and a commitment, I'm going in the pool. Well, she committed, but fortunately it wasn't a FaceTime. It was just a regular phone call. So I stayed dry, but that was a cool moment from that, and then to be able to celebrate with other coaches. I mean, it's just, when you're getting a commitment that feels as good as almost any win, and it's really unusual to celebrate a commitment with other head coaches of other sports. So that was kind of a neat one.
Coach, at the middle blocker position, you're obviously losing a few major pieces to graduation. So, how was that a priority for this particular recruiting class, and what were those conversations like with the recruits about how they're going to fit in with Tosa and Natalie and the other young middles? Yeah,
it's we want our players to believe in themselves, and no matter how much depth we have or how much experience, we're going after people that have big dreams and big goals, and many of them. Almost all of them have pro aspirations. Most of them have USA national team aspirations, and those gyms are pretty challenging. Also, if you want to, so you got to lean into doing hard things and compete with other elite people that are trying to do the same thing as you. If you're wanting to go after those, so it's the same conversation with any of the recruits. There's a need. They fit the need, and it's a great fit for who we think they are as human beings and people, and so it's with the portal. It's a little bit different right now, is that the numbers that we are actually calling on signing day has just shrunk so much. And we used to catch, we've never had a huge net, but that net has definitely gotten smaller with the portal. There's no reason to reach, either from a work ethic standpoint, what their personality or who they are, the character. There's no reason to reach from their athleticism and skill set. There's no reason to reach anymore, because you can go and get somebody that you've seen at this level, play college games. And so the number of people we're actually calling is very, very, very short. And so, although you have somebody like Lenny that we've known for years, and somebody from Kimura that kind of came out of nowhere, there were, I don't know how many other middles we talked to on the phone. I don't know. Maybe we talked to a third. I don't know if we talked to a fourth in that class. It was a very, very small number that we thought would be great fit for what we were needing.
So kind of going, that was going to be one of my questions with the transfer portal, is just how has that influenced, especially with now the prevalence of it now and the evolution of that, how has the transfer portal influenced recruiting from the stance of discussions? You talked about the class being a year and a half out when they committed. Just what are those conversations like with Gary and Brittany and others within the staff to try to project out to what you need with what could be immediate needs that could be addressed through the portal, or those that maybe you can get immediate needs with this incoming class, but it could also give them time to develop?
It's really funny at the different sports, because you'll see some sports, the portal is celebrated. Yeah, we're going out and we're getting a bunch of portal people, and this is great and it's awesome. And in our sport, there's a little bit more of you're only good because you've got people that are transferred in. It's just funny. I don't know. I don't know if I get too worked up about whether somebody is in state, whether somebody is out of state, whether somebody is international, whether they transfer in, whether they've, they've known they were coming here since they were 3. I just we try to find good fits for this, and if they and this is college, and I think one of the things about college, one of the cool things about college is that you're with a bunch of different people that are different from yourselves. And so if I were to just what would be my I don't know, my wish or whatever, I think having a mix of some people around here and some people throughout the country and some internationals and some people that have been somewhere else that can bring that perspective in here, I think learning is kind of cool with all that. But the portal has definitely changed things. It changes you don't have the ability after the season to wait until break to sit down and talk about their future, which is fine. I mean, you're having that right away. It's not just about transfers or being fearful of them transferring. It's how is their development, and how have you seen their development, and how do you see their future? Coaches have been doing that for a long period of time. We're just moving that timeline up of having that conversation out, which makes it a little bit more challenging when we fall right into winter break and they're leaving for a month. But we've had some great success with people that have transferred in. I think they've had great experiences. We've had some people that have left the program that have gone somewhere else that's been a better fit for maybe what they were looking for as well. So, I think there's some things that we can do a little bit better with the portal window. I think we need to have 1 instead of 2. I think it needs to be moved after our NCAA tournament, so the focus can be on the highlight of our year, which is the tournament and the Final Four and competing for a championship and letting that happen afterwards. And I think that window needs to be shorter because it's turned into, for most sports, a negotiating window. But I think if we can kind of get a shorter window, have it 1 and have it after the season, I'm all for the opportunities.
With you obviously had a pretty good 25 class that is bigger. You have these 4 and 26. Kind of vaguely in general speaking, since obviously you can't get into specifics, does that impact kind of how you were mentioning the list being shorter? Does that kind of impact how long your list might be in future classes?
Well, I mean, it depends on how many roster spots we're looking for, right, and how many positions, and so I think that that dictates it. I mean, we tend to have the net is pretty big to start out with, and it just has, the more that we're watching, the more we're getting to know them, the more that we're talking with our coaches, you start seeing some things and as our current players are developing, what we think may be a need at one point may not be a need a few months later as you're seeing somebody develop, or injuries come up and it's like, whoa, I didn't think we were going to need this position, but holy cow, this is a big deal for us right now. And so it constantly evolves. I don't know if I answered your question, but
like from a class balance standpoint,
yeah.
Like, do you want to have a ton of, if you have a really big, sophomore, junior class,
Yeah.
does that affect what you eventually do?
I don't know. I think having a balanced class of a certain number in each year used to be more important to me early on in my career. I think it's become less important because there's just so much more uncertainty. It's, you're wanting to develop your players and help them grow throughout the course. You're hoping that they're here for 4 years and that they're on that type of plan. But there's things that change constantly, and so I try not to manage that. If we have a big class of whatever number it is, then that's great. I mean, last year we graduated a lot. You think about the players that this team lost, and we lost 2 to 3 in the portal that are smalls that went, and then you have 2 classes that graduated essentially with Yulia Orzel and Devin Robinson and CeCe Crawford and Anna Smrek and who else am I missing? Sarah Franklin. That was a joke. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of people that are there. You have to find ways to we're wanting our players to grow, but we're also trying to put the best team forward that we can every single year and compete every single year. And so there's that element of bringing in some young players and mixing them with some elite college ready transfers, and hopefully you can stay in the ball game every year.
Last two questions, Dennis and then Drake.
Audrey last year had a knee injury that I think cost her a season of play.
Yeah.
Is she healthy now? Back to her old self, as far as you can tell?
Yeah, I mean, she started for her USA team this summer. Saw her at nationals. She was here for camp. Just finished up her high school season. Actually, she's still going right now with high school. Audrey looks great. I mean, Audrey. I thought her rehab back and how they approached that, I thought was done really well from her and her family and her coaches. I think everybody were on the same page of sometimes, especially on that age, you're putting too much on young people. And, I thought it was great rehab. We're getting a great player. We're getting a healthy player and one that's going to have a huge impact for us.
So I know, Brittany's been the recruiting coordinator, but with Gary's role as director of player personnel and analytics, just how has analytics kind of shaped this recruiting class and what you're looking for at the high school level and what you could try to project and how you could develop them further?
It's different. I would say it was everybody that was able to recruit was out on the road, and we utilized everybody out on the road. But the point person was definitely Brittany, and with the club coaches and mailings when we're able to do that, whatever we are allowed to do, most of it was kind of going through her. And now we have Gary being moved from a coach to a director of player personnel. He's essentially building the roster. And so you've got him that is, along with revenue sharing and what we can do and all of those things, what we can afford, enters the equation. Now it's kind of more of it, instead of just being Brett and I making a lot of the decisions with the input and the evaluations from everybody else. Now Gary certainly has a say in, I'm not sure this is where we want to put, our money right now. And so that's a different equation any sports that's participating in revenue sharing, it's more people at the decision table, we're still trying to get a feel for that. I would say.